All right. Welcome, guys, to Money Mondays, where we are focused on raising private capital, investing with purpose. So, whether you are a new investor or an experienced investor, or even looking to buy a business, understanding the art of raising private capital is crucial in today's competitive landscape. Join us as we navigate the complex realm of attracting investors, securing funding, and building meaningful relationships. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, keleishacar. And I don't have my co-host today, Betzy. She had a family emergency. So, Betzy, I hope all is well. Sending love. But she's here with us in spirit, you guys. Today is going to be a great episode where we've been doing a newbie Q&A where we bring someone onto the show and they ask us any questions that they want to ask us. They're like kind of like taking over the show a little bit. So, and our guest today is going to be Jackie, which we know from Sub 2, but I'm going to tell you guys more about Jackie. But just a reminder, guys, that everything that we share on this podcast and all that stuff, I need to keep still. I'm like a kid. Everything that we share on this podcast, it's really just our experience. Nothing, we're not giving you legal or professional advice or anything like that. So I'm gonna share our disclaimer. The following information is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence. We do not provide financial, legal, or professional advice. We do have referrals that we can recommend you guys to, but again, take everything that we say with a grain of salt. Go do your own research, okay? Okay, so let's dive into it. I can see like Jackie in the background, you guys, which is like she's just laughing nonstop. But let us dive in and let's welcome Jackie, which I'm so happy to call a friend. You know, like Jackie's amazing, but I'm gonna let you guys get to know Jackie a little bit more. Jackie, welcome to Money Mondays.
Hi, Keleisha. You're such a great host.
Oh, thank you, honey. I'm like, I always struggle. I'm like, it's just me today. I gotta like monitor everything else. I'm like, you know what? Let's go.
You're killing it. You're killing it.
Oh, thanks, bro. I feel like today's gonna be fantastic.
Oh
We
yeah.
already mesh. We know each other, so it's not like we're putting that out there too, and like doing the whole show and everything. And she's taking over the show and all that stuff. What are you most excited about today?
I guess just, asking you questions because, and I told you this before, I look at you as someone that's you're somewhere that I want to be at. The things that you know and the things that you've experienced. I have a little bit of real estate investing background myself, but nothing in regards to utilizing other people's money and having private money lenders. And so the whole concept of being able to get into a deal without utilizing any of your own money it's crazy. It's been a real mindset shift for me to really come to terms with like, this is possible. And it's everything is always just a matter of like figuring out how to do something. There's always a way to do it. Yeah. And being able to find those people that have already done it and you kind of get to learn off of their experiences, it cuts the learning curve so much.
Girl, you see, this is why I'm like, you're like, I just want to cut my learning curve. I don't want to figure things out myself. And that is the right mindset to have. And that's where like coming into mentorship programs and all that stuff, a lot of persons invest in themselves because instead of trying to figure out everything else on your own, like, why not just invest in yourself? And then when you invest in yourself, it's like so much things that will take you 10 years, maybe take you 2 years or 1 year. So for those who are just joining us, if you have any questions about raising private capital, it's similar to like episodes that we've done where you ask us anything. If you want Jackie to ask you guys a question on behalf of us as well, feel free to drop those in the chat. Don't think that no question is too dumb. It's anything about raising capital, getting started in real estate, using other people's money, the whole work, structuring deals, and all that stuff. So, hey, Julie. Hi. Um, and then a quick announcement too. I always forget to like say these things. Guys, check out my Bigger Pockets interview. I'm gonna drop the link. That was very interesting, just sharing my story, a very vulnerable moment. But I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I got to share the episode with them. And so far, the feedback has been fantastic. So check that episode out. I think it's episode 848. It's on Bigger Pockets YouTube. And just send me a link. Let me know what you guys think as well, too. So, Jackie, the floor is yours, girlfriend.
Yeah, okay. So, I guess circling back to, utilizing other people, I almost feel like finding the money isn't the
Mhm.
issue. It's
Yeah.
more so finding the deal that makes sense for the money.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's funny. It's funny because I've noticed more things about my upbringing now that I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Mhm.
Like little backstory of me, I grew up in a church, and they would go to like other countries for missions trips.
Yeah.
Um, and so I remember like I told my mom like, "Oh, I really want to go on one of those trips." And she's like, "Well, that's a lot of money. Like you're going to need to figure out how to get there." And at like 15, 16 years old, I was door knocking to sell like charity bears for people that were going to be like
Whoa.
sponsors for the kids. And I raised money to go on that trip. And so now it's like it's all full circle because like I said before, I mean, the money is not the issue. People that have money, they want to put it into something that they're passionate about, or things that make sense. And so coming into this world of real estate, I definitely feel almost like I don't know what I'm doing. So how
Mhm.
can I put other people's money towards something that I don't fully understand myself?
What I would suggest is, and this is something that I've done starting out, and a lot of persons recommend it. This is where you tap into your circle, which is friends and family. You test the waters with them first, because when I just use private money, I really didn't. I just call it private money because that's what everyone else was calling it. And I tested the waters with that one. There wasn't any promissory note, deed of trust, or anything like that. It was like, hey, family members, like, I know what you're doing. You guys have done a deal or two, so we know what you guys have an idea. You're figuring it out. I want to invest. I don't want to figure out real estate. Here is my money. What we did was took it up on ourselves, was that we found like a promissory note. We found the promissory note, and then we just put documents in, like the agreement or whatever it is. That agreement, it wasn't, okay, I'm going to pay you 10% interest rate, 8% interest rate by X time. It was, they want to invest, and we're like, we'll just split the cash flow. That was the agreement. I find a lot of times when we know too much, we overcomplicate things a lot.
Yeah.
When we don't and the opportunity is there, you figure it out. Because a lot of times, like, imagine you and your family member, they're trusting you. See, you might even think that I'm not experienced, but they're trusting you because you have an idea with what you're doing. They rather give you the money than give someone else, like give a knucklehead, as Pacewood says. Like, they rather do that. And then your job now, if someone comes to you and be like, okay, I'm going to give you the money. Then you find someone else and be like, hey, I have this situation. I have this property. I'm going to borrow, let's say, $20,000. What do I need to do next? That's all you got to ask. And then
Mhm.
that's how you will learn as you go along. But I think a lot of times we try to figure things out, every single thing. And that's just how most of our mind work or brain. But just tap into your network. Oh,
Mhm.
literal, like your family member. A lot of us are always afraid to share with our family members what we're doing or asking them for money. But children, in fact, a lot of time they have money and they want to invest. but they just don't know what to do. Think about it. Everyone always talk about, man, I want to invest. I want to buy stocks. I want to buy this. But how are they going to find the opportunity to do it?
Mm.
See?
Yeah. I think that was a good point, talking about the overthinking. Like, your family was willing to just take cash flow. So essentially being a private money partner, and being able to utilize, because, when you have the numbers, right, and you can see like, okay, this property right here, depending on your exit strategy, making it make sense where it's like, okay, the cash flow, there's enough meat on the bone, I guess is how they say it.
Yeah.
So how would you recommend someone as myself, where if I'm focusing on bringing the money to other people, how do I find those deals that are worth, like, because if underwriting isn't my strong suit, how do I really know what I'm looking at? Is it just utilizing other people still in my network?
No. So that's where you need to go a step further and have an idea of how to underwrite. Because here's what I've seen. It's kind of like daisy chaining. Let's use the daisy chaining, for example, where a wholesaler has something and you daisy chain. And when you just start, someone's like, hey, help me find a buyer. You don't even do your own research on the property, but you start presenting the same number to that, wasting your time, your resources, marketing something that if you had taken the time to analyze it, like basic thing, you'll be like, this is not a deal. And what you don't know is during that time, you're ruining your credibility and reputation for like marketing bad deals. So I would say have the basic idea of underwriting. Know what is the spread, what is the cash flow, all that, just the basic stuff. When you do that, then now you tap into your network and you're like, hey, I know you're looking to land. Oh, is that me?
I don't know.
Oh. But you're good. I know. So it would be, I know you're looking to land. I came across this opportunity. I'm not sure if you would be interested in it. Here are the numbers. Let me know if you have any questions. That way, because then on the lender side of it, each person is going to analyze the deal differently. There, you're going to use different numbers, but you gave them the rough idea. If they're like, hey, this is something that I'll be interested in, but I need this amount of information. I need these additional info. It's up to you to maybe to go and find that information. If you want to stay in the loop, go get the information that the lender needs and present it to that lender. I would not recommend just connecting and just be out of the picture, because again, you built that relationship with that lender. So they have some level of trust with you. So understand the basic way to underwrite a deal, present it, and understand what the deal looks like. Because if you do, you can confidently explain to that lender, hey, I have this deal. This is what the numbers look like. These are the exit strategies. Do your own due diligence and let me know if this is something you're interested in. That's it.
Now, there's different types of lenders, right? And even just going based off of someone who understands real estate and someone who just has money.
Yeah.
And because, you hear the pitch a lot of, I can get you double-digit returns backed by real estate. So saying that to someone who has never been involved in real estate, that sounds good, right? They're like, ooh, double-digit returns. Like, okay, let me hear more.
Yeah.
So in those situations, are you like hand holding that lender of like the whole process so they're learning, or does it just depend on the lender if they even want to know
so this is where it goes back to, you have to, how do I explain this? You got to know who are you talking to. So before going in and be like double-digit return, get an idea of what is their lending experience. If you have a background of that person, it will help you to navigate that conversation, because you don't want an experienced investor who may even position themselves as experienced and you're holding their hands and they're like, sometimes they don't want to be rude. And they're like, I know all of that stuff. Tell me the details. How's my money protected? Some lenders are straight like that. How's my money protected? What's your exit strategy? How soon you need the money? What is my return? That's it. Whereas if someone is completely new, then you would definitely hold their hands. Now, when you pick up that someone is completely new to investing, you go in with the intention to educate. You're like, okay, you should change your whole goal for that conversation. I'm not going in to close a deal or get money or anything. I'm going in to educate. Now, you can spend time educating and that person will never lend with you and they go lend with someone else. And that is fine. You got to be okay with that. But in the future, eventually they will come to you and lend money to you, or they will refer someone to you. So I always ask persons just to get an idea, what is their background? Simply asking like, hey, have you ever lent on real estate before? Are you doing anything real estate related? Yeah, what are you doing? You ask the basic questions. Okay, have you ever lent before? Yeah. Tell me about that deal that you lent money on. That way you get an idea, understanding of what type of deals they like, what return they're like, and you also get an idea of how much capital that they have without directly asking, how much money do you have?
Yeah.
Like I always use those as like guide to really fuel. And then if someone's like, oh, I lent 30,000 for 12 months at 8%, 9%, I can be like, oh, that's pretty good. I've done a deal with similar terms. It was a property on 123 Main Street or in Georgia. And except the lender brought 40,000. And again, this is also a little trick. So when the lender mentioned that they lent 30,000 on the deal, you use third party story. And you mention, I've done a deal, or my partner and I have done a deal, or my colleague have done a deal where we structured it $40,000 for the same term. When you say the 40, you're also planting the seed to get an idea to see if they have more than that $30,000.
That's good.
Without again, you're not going in to close the deal. You're getting to know the person. That way you can bring the right opportunity to that lender, because you don't want, if that lender only has like 40,000, you don't want to keep pushing them to invest 100,000. Because they didn't outright say, yes, you will maybe share one or two deals with them with that amount, but you won't keep pushing on them unless they express interest in it. But that's a way to find out the amount and how to pitch it.
That's good.
Okay. Ooh, these are good questions, girl. Guys, remember to drop your questions, any questions that you have. Don't think that the questions are too dumb or you should know it. Just drop the questions, challenges, concerns, how to structure deals, anything like that. So Jackie can ask you questions, guys. So what do you got?
That's crazy. So you can see people's comments as they're coming up?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'll just pop them up on the screen so at least you can see them.
Okay, cool.
So that will help a ton. What other questions do you have for me?
Let's see. I guess, I don't know, because I am the type of person that like, I like to squat up with people. You know, they always say like a slice of a watermelon is better than a whole grape. Yeah. And so I feel like I can kind of put myself in these situations where I know who I would turn to, which you would be that person I would turn to in this situation. But I guess question like logistics wise, right? Because I think even if you're bringing the lender to someone, I think that whole concept in and of itself scares people. Like at first it sounds like, okay, you know, I just need to go in and talk and network and find the money and then just bring it, you know, to the person. But I think once you start getting into the paperwork side of things, that's where people are like, okay, I think this is a little more in depth than I thought. Okay. And they kind of just put it down and forget about it because they don't want to figure out those next steps. What would you say to that person of like figuring out how to go through that to see it to the end?
Man, I'm going to give you guys a story. You know, they always say, fake it till you make it. I kind of believe in that and I kind of don't, but I'm going to use that quote. But when I did my first transaction, I knew the paperwork that was needed. I was ready. But in the moment, I think I lost everything. I forgot everything that I've learned in the mastermind. I was like, there's no way, right? And when the lender started asking about paperwork and stuff, I'm like, okay, I'll get this to you. I'm freaking out. But I did not let no, like I was freaking out. I was like, I'll get that to you, but I did not let him know that this was my first official transaction. Right?
Mm.
I went in, I was like, okay, I guess is how my brain is works as well. I started asking, what's your entity name? What's your phone number? What's your mailing address? I don't know. I'm just asking these questions. Right? I went in, I was like, okay, he presented all the info. And I was like, all right, damn, what's the next step? And I was like, oh, paperwork. Then I know I was taught that you get an attorney to do all the stuff. Bruh, I go by that all day, every day. I'll spend that money. I'm not gonna figure it out at all. So I went in the mastermind group. I asked for an attorney referral. Good thing was that another colleague of mine just paid an attorney for paperwork. And they were like, I can send it to you. I was like, perfect. You already paid for it. It's drafted. So I put the terms in and everything like that. I reviewed it. I understand the paperwork for myself. So, and I understand how to make the changes because the attorney at the time actually made like highlights where to make those changes on the paperwork. If there's anything more technical, you would go to the attorney, but it was a very simple transaction. I did that. And I guess I just sent an email. Hi, let's say the person name is Tom. Hi, Tom, please see documents attached. If there were any changes apart from that I wasn't aware of, I would go and ask my coach, which was Amy. Again, having someone that you can go and ask questions as you went along. So I'm like, Amy, this is where I'm at. I don't know what's the next step to do. And she's like, okay, this is what the person is asking for. This is what you need to provide. So I'm saying this to say, like, you just have to be confident in what you're saying, right? If you don't know, hey, I'm not sure, but let me double check for you. Or, hey, I have the answer to it, but before I say anything, I want to confirm it first. Instead of saying, I don't know. That way it gives you enough time to go find out from someone else who does. So it's simply like faking it till you make it. And just be confident in what you're doing. Like it is happening and you're going to find ways to talk yourself out of it. Right. But you got to be like, oh, it is happening. And this is the only way for me to learn. I got to do that first transaction. And I'm telling you, for me up to this day, every single transaction is different. Because every lender requires something else. The simplest thing, the lender is someone may want a personal guarantee and you put a personal guarantee in the promissory note and they're like, no, I need you to also add the personal guarantee to the mortgage deed. So I'm like, oh my gosh, whenever it starts getting that complicated, I'm like, I'm done. Attorney in. I'm like, and the thing is people hear, I think it's just how our brain works as well. You hear attorney and you're like $sign. But I've learned that I would rather pay the extra few $100 and get the right paperwork drafted than in the future it comes in and bite my ass. And especially where a lot of persons don't take into consideration is that every state is different. So that's another thing too. Like with lenders, when it comes down to lenders, I rather use an attorney who has the right to practice in that state to draft that paperwork. If not, I ask the lender, hey, if you have an attorney and you want them to draft the paperwork and you're comfortable with that, do it. I'll pay that fee. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure they're comfortable and you want to make sure that the paperwork is also comfortable. So the paperwork can be intimidating a lot, but just go through the process when you're stuck. Just ask questions and then just fake it till you make it, honestly. See,
I love
see someone. And just said paperwork and legalities. And then Julie said the paperwork can be intimidating. Trust me, up to this day, like I am not a fan of doing paperwork at all. Like I just shout out to all the transaction coordinators because I'm just not. And I think I'm just a person where I will pay for anything. I'll pay for convenience and to get my time back. As long as it works and it's not out of whack, I will pay for it. So guys, just pay for it.
Yeah.
Pay for it.
Ooh, question for you. How did you start to figure out what you were charging for your fees and like,
Fee.
yeah. And is it different depending on the deal, how you structure that fee?
Yeah. That's a really good question. So when I started out with doing 1% finder's fee. So imagine raising, I suck at math. So I think, so I think I at one point did 1%. And then I think we raised, let's say it was 30,000. I'm just going to use rough numbers. Imagine charging 1% and you raise $30,000 for your time. That is $300, $300, especially if that entire transaction is a pain, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're done, you're like, man, I did all of that for $300. And then I evaluated the value that I was bringing. So that was one thing. I started assessing, okay, I am doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my value and time is way more important than 300. It's worth more than $300. So then I bump it up to 3%. What I did was I didn't like say 3%, 2%. I started working the math. And by that, I mean, I started working, okay, what is 2% of 40,000? What is 3% of 30,000? And I look what that amount is. And I'm like, would I be okay with that? And if I am okay with that number, then I have an idea of what the fee would be like. But then as you keep doing more transaction and you're still doing, like you realize you're super involved, you're like, no, this is my time. Then I stop doing percentages and I start doing a fee. I did a fee. I was like, okay, based on what I'm doing, and I'm gonna full transparency. I think I got to the point where like, if it's a certain amount and I'm not going to make more than 5,000, I'm not doing it. Because for me, I am not just connecting the lender to the borrower. I'm marketing the deal. I'm analyzing the deal. I have a team that's underwriting the deal to make sure everything is solid. I'm also talking to the lender. So by the time I bring the lender to the borrower, it's either the lender just want to have an idea who the borrower is, or the lender is ready to go. I am also doing the post stuff, whereas I'm ensuring that the lender gets their paperwork signed. If there's any questions with the paperwork, I'm there with the lender, not the borrower. When the lender should get their monthly payments, I'm the one with the lender as well. So you got to look on what value are you bringing, and you are not going to have one set fee all the time. Like sometimes you're going to do deals and you're going to be like, man, I should have charged more. Yes, it's going to happen. But looking at where it's a learning process, and the people who value what you're bringing to the table will have no issues paying your finder's fee. That's one thing that I've learned. They would have no issues because they're looking at it like, I don't got to find the money. I'm not doing anything. I give you the info. You go do what you like to do and you bring the money to me. I love finding the deal. So I just want to keep finding deals. You go find the money. And you will realize that instead of doing volume with a bunch of people, you now start finding your niche of borrowers who you like working with, who love finding the deal. So now they're going to come to you, but like, hey, I have this deal, go find the money.
Yeah.
And that's where you're making your finder's fee.
I've been thinking about that lately of like, because this whole business is relationships. And so having your go-to lenders and your go-to borrowers, people that you know have a good track record and can be trusted, and you've worked with before and things like that. And, you know, people that are quick to fund and lend the deals. And that's like that sweet spot of like having your network of people that you're just constantly back and forth, all doing deals together.
Yeah. It's like as you said, like you're building that track record with that person. So at least when they come back, oh, I've just done a deal with it. Like there's this borrower here in Tampa, and we met for the first time a couple weeks ago. We did one deal, but I realized that this person loves finding deals. Like they'll be doing 10 plus deals at once. Like that's what they love. And I'm like, okay, if you're bringing all these deals, I'm going to tell you what the sweet spot is. Stay between that and send over the deals, and I find the money. And in the past 3 months, I've gotten 3 of his deals funded. No, not 3 months, 2 months. Lie, no, a month. 3 of his deals funded. Because then I have this track record. I have a list of properties that he can cross collateralize. I know the equity. So all he has to do is present me with the deal. And I could present to the lender, hey, this is the info. This is the property that he can cross collateralize. This is the equity. So I have everything that I need. So it's like, once you find that borrower, you're good to go. It's going to be easier to raise capital for those borrowers because it's hard to raise the capital for someone who's completely new, who hasn't done a deal yet, and you have not worked with the person before. But it's possible.
Yeah, that's good.
These are good questions. Guys, drop your questions too. I see y'all are watching from my Facebook, Betzy Facebook, YouTube. So wherever you're tuning in, like drop the questions. I know some of you might be driving as well. Drop your questions so Jackie can ask us. I want to ask you a question. When it comes on to raising private capital, what's one, it may be a two-part, what's your biggest fear when it comes on to raising capital?
Biggest fear mostly is just putting someone with someone who doesn't pay them back. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I think I care about other people's money more than my own money. Like, cause you're like it's like, you know, my risk level is different than somebody else, and meeting someone and having them trust you, like that's a lot of responsibility. So just being able, like, you know, until like, so my team, we've closed a double closing. So we did that one deal, but it was so seamless. Like the people we were working with, like it was very like easy. And I'm like, okay, I know they're not going to all be like this. And so you're always just kind of, I don't know, bracing for anything can happen, you know? Yeah. You hear in real estate, like things never go as planned or as thought out. And so when you're talking about other people's money, that's probably my biggest fear, is like, I just don't want to tarnish my reputation or any relationships that I have. But that's why I think it's important in who you're raising that money for, and just having that borrower relationship has to be solid, like somebody that you know and somebody that you've seen. And yeah, go ahead.
You know, it's crazy that you said that, because I still have that anxiety and fear, and you're gonna always have it. Reason being, because a borrower can be so good, but there are certain things that are out of their control, like that you can't even control. Like we've just closed a deal. We're gonna do a whole video with this. The borrower borrowed like a lot of money, like a lot, and I was the one that connected that lender with the borrower. But we were in communication the entire 6 months. So the lender knew what was going on. They knew about delays. What happened during that 6 months is that 4 or 5 months in, a contractor came in. I think it was a subcontractor, and he took the money and didn't finish the work, which put the borrower in a bind. And we updated the lender what was going on, and they were very understanding, thank God. And they're like, listen, you guys, you were updating me throughout the entire time. Things happen. It's a fix and flip. Most times these things happen. And he's like, what is the plan? And we're like, this is going to be the plan. This sets us back by X time. So we're going to need a loan extension just on the safe side. The lender was like, cool, I'll do the loan extension. got to the point where a few other delays happened, and it got to the point where we did another month loan extension. But eventually we got to pay off the lender. So I'm saying this because there's certain things it's gonna happen out of your control, but it's what do you do when that happens? That's what makes you a better person when it comes on to managing relationship, doing this type of business. You become better. You think on your feet, you come up with solutions. Because even this, like the borrower was like stressed out, and I could only imagine that, right? Because
Yeah.
these like, I don't want to damage your relationship, what you have in my reputation. And just to be there proposing solution was very helpful. And when you go into something, it's going to happen. And I tell every lender that I'm connecting with, hey, this is the track record. There is a possibility there's going to be a delay. Are you okay with that? Now we start putting things in place. If this is a fix and flip, there's going to be a delay for a month. How about we prepare for the delay and put you're allowed 2 loan extension, and this is what it's going to cost you if you do the loan extension. If it gets to the loan extension, then this is what we do next. So we plan out all those things, and that's how you become a better person when it comes on to borrowing money.
Yeah,
But
I think that's yeah. No, and it's funny because so my background is in bartending and serving, and I feel like being in that industry, a lot of it correlates to real estate, especially with what I'm trying to focus on of like managing relationships and like because that was my thing. Like I liked having those tables that came in with a sour face because I was like, I know I'm gonna like make them leave with a smile on their face. Like just because of the way that I handle myself, like, and so being able to, like you said, have that communication is huge. I mean, it's crazy how people, like a knee-jerk reaction is to kind of hide and be like, okay, I'm just gonna like push this off. But like if you're just upfront with it and on top of it, people recognize that and appreciate that, and like it speaks volumes compared to hiding.
And over communicate. Oh my God. Like, even if you don't have an update, let's say you're like, hey, I'm in the process of finding a new contractor. Okay. Oh, today I interviewed a contractor. He seems possible, and this is what he's proposing. Like, it got to the point where we're telling you every single thing that's going on. So if you don't want to respond, that's up to you, but we're communicating. Hey, we're close to repaying you your loan. We're talking to the lender right now for the refinance, and we're updating. If when the lender comes back and be like, hey, the refinance is going to take 30 to 45 days, it's now common sense. Let me not say common sense, but as the borrower, you're asking that lender, by any chance, could you put something in writing to say that you're going to refinance and this is how much it's going to take? That way you can bring it to the lender, and the lender wouldn't think that, oh, you're just giving me a bunch of bull crap just to delay the thing. You're actually everything that you're saying you're working on. So when a lender sees something like that, they're like, oh, okay, you're managing that expectation. And that's super important. Like, you have to manage that expectation. Like, don't overpromise. If you know something is going to take 45 days, be upfront that, hey, it's going to take 45 days, but I'm estimating it's going to take an extra 5 to 6 days. So let's say 2 months. And you're preparing for the worst and all the delays. See, girl, you're good at this. Man, we need to have you on the show more. Like, these are some good questions, like persons I think really think about as well. That sometimes it's hard to bring these things out with speakers, but like having these one-on-one, like the conversation this is good. Julie said, yes, over communicate. I can't tell you the anxiety when a borrower won't talk to the lender. Yes. And I'm glad that Julie mentioned that too. One thing that I do, let's say if the lender goes into the deal as an equity partner, I check in. I check in to be like, hey, how's everything going? That's it. Because you're an equity partner. I can't follow up with you forever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how's everything going? Are you receiving monthly payments? Do you have any questions? All that stuff. And that way, sometimes the lender feels such a relief because they're like, oh my God, they're more comfortable with me than the borrower. They're like, Keleisha, this is what I'm facing. This is what I'm thinking. Can you clarify this? And then I can go to the borrower to be like, hey, what's going on with this?
Mm-hmm.
Just to keep the lender satisfied. Because again, I feel responsible because I'm the one connecting you to this opportunity and this person as well. So I'm going to make sure everything is good. Pansy just asked a question.
How do you vet and find your lenders?
Oh, crazy. I get this question all the time. Your lenders could literally be on your Facebook, your friends list. Like literally, it could be on your friends list. It could be maybe if you go to church, your church members, your coworkers. I think we all have this idea of this image of what a private money lender looks like, but it can literally be anyone. But the way to find them is that you have to tell people what you're doing. Like if you're in real estate, if you're just getting started, say it. Like share what is it that you're doing, because sometimes you can just share what you're doing and someone's like, oh really, I didn't know you do real estate. I'm a lender, or I have money and I've been, not even I have money, I've been thinking of getting into real estate, but I don't want to get my license, I don't want to buy a house, I don't want to renovate the house. And you're like, oh, what if I find the house and we partner together? Literally someone in your network. And to vet them, it's you vet them just by finding out, okay, where's the money coming from? How soon can you deploy the funds? Especially when it's like an IRA or something like that, that usually takes a longer time, require a different set of paperwork. But your lenders could literally be in your network.
That's
Yeah.
huge. Just that's huge. Like sharing what you're doing. It's funny because I've seen that. Like
Mhm.
you have to put yourself out there because people, like everyone has their lives and they're doing their own thing, and like coming across that one post of like, oh man, like this is what you do. Like I'd love to know more, or whatever. That it's funny because that's like something I've been trying to focus on more, is putting myself out there. And I've seen it very quickly of like just being consistent. It shows up to people. Like they're like, okay,
Yeah.
she's posting a lot. She must be doing something. Let me ask her and reach out.
Mhm.
It's great.
Ooh. And especially if it's a family member or a high school friend or a college friend, they keep seeing you and they're like, oh, I've been seeing your posts and all that stuff. There could be two things. You become the go-to person when they have anything, any questions real estate related. If they see a news real estate related, they're going to send it to you. If whenever a few months down the line they realize that they come up with some capital, they're going to be like, oh, I know Jackie's, I've been seeing her doing her thing, let me reach out to Jackie and see if she want to invest with me because I trust Jackie, she's been consistent, let me see if I would feel more comfortable lending Jackie my money. So it's like you really gotta like just share it. And I know we stress this all the time, and a lot of persons hear this all the time. Posting on social media, we automatically think that it's posting every day, it's having fancy equipment, it's being knowledgeable about how to use social media. But it's simply, if you just use a platform, if you're more comfortable with Facebook, you go and you make a post in Facebook. If you're more comfortable with Instagram, you make a post on Instagram. It could be 2 posts in a week until you get comfortable with doing 3 posts. You don't need a fancy video or anything like that. Take your phone, hit record, and talk about whatever is it that you're doing. Or if you're at a real estate event, be that weirdo and record the entire thing. Maybe you don't want to show your face, but record it that you're talking. Hey guys, I'm at this real estate meetup. Even if you do not want to show your face, record it and post. I had a great time at this real estate meetup. I met this amount of persons, blah, blah, blah. But it's just those little things.
Yeah.
that adds up. The
Oh,
Julie has a question. Julie said, um, I even have a situation with equity partners where I have to ask for updates on a lease option we got into. Listen, I think, Julie, trust me, I get your pain. And I guess what I think too, I'm like, if I was in that lender situation, I'm like, I want to know updates. So I always take that approach. I'm like, I want to know exactly what's going on. So because I want that for myself, I try my best. I'm not perfect. I try my best to kind of provide that update as well for those type of deals. But I know how this one gets. It's tough. It's definitely tough. She also said, you also have to be careful. Your network will have your back if you think about doing business with someone shady, even the community. That is so true as well. And I'm so glad she mentioned that because, and I'm going to dabble in a little bit. Guys, when I got into real estate, I think a lot of times persons think that, oh, I know this person. You think you know them and you don't need X paperwork and all that stuff. When I was in a relationship, we still approach the business side as a business. Like this is a bit like we're able to separate. We could know each other for years. This is a business venture that we're taking on, and we're going to do everything to protect ourselves because guess what? Anything can happen. And I think if you approach every situation with that mindset and you plan for the worst and make sure that you're protected no matter what, like if we decide to go our separate ways, how do we handle that? If I no longer want to be a part of this business relationship, how do I handle that? What say do I have? Like, have these conversations first. And when you have these conversations, you put it all in writing. There's not a standard way of what the paperwork should include, should not include. You can drop the paperwork however you see fit and sign. So I think just take the approach with everything is a business. Like, I don't care if it's our network. Once it's my network, I'm tapping into it. Once we go into business, it's no longer about the relationship. Well, yes, it is, but it's more alongside of what the business side of it, because we're doing something completely different. People get ugly when business goes sideways. And you see a different side of persons too. What are your
yeah,
thoughts?
it's a good point. I do have a question for you.
Yes.
So I just thought about this earlier. If you were to find someone that has money that they want to invest in real estate, do they have to, and is it better if they have an LLC or like they have their funds? Is that necessary, or can someone who's like, hey, I have 30K in the bank, like, can I lend it to you personally? Like, is there issues with that?
I don't have any issues with it. Because again, it goes back to that person goal and their background. If
Okay.
this person doesn't know much about LLC and you can get complicated and you overwhelm them and all that stuff, right? So most times I don't push for an LLC. If they would like to have it, I was like, hey, if you'd like to have an LLC, here's the steps, because a lot of times they don't know. And sometimes they'll be like, no, I'll do it in my personal name. I don't care. Or I'll do it in my personal name. We can convert it to an LLC after. So I always just find out what is it that they're looking for. Some persons really don't care. I don't care. Like, as long as you're comfortable with what name is going on the entity, that's all that matters. Not on the entity, on the documents. That all that matters. If you're comfortable with it, I'm good, and you're good. Let's get the deal done.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done plenty of deals with just a personal name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No LLC. No. It goes back to when you just get started and you're in the different groups and stuff. Everyone's like, go get an LLC. And everyone gets an LLC. But what you don't know, and you learn this when you get in, is that Imagine having an LLC or two LLC, because everyone tell you about active income LLC, passive income LLC. You get all these LLC. You're paying the registered agent fee for both LLC. You're also paying annual report, whether you make money from that LLC or not. You're paying to set up that LLC. Like I know in like Texas, to set up an LLC is so expensive. In Tennessee, to set up an LLC is so expensive. So I always be like, if you get the LLC, make sure damn well that you work your ass off to get something done in that LLC. Because it doesn't make sense you have an LLC 2 years operating, paying taxes on it, and you're not using the entity. And don't go create an LLC in a certain state if you know that you're not going to invest in that state. Because then you're paying taxes on it. I did this when I started out. I created an LLC, and for a year I paid money on it, and then I still haven't used that LLC.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I ended up creating another LLC in a different state. Yeah, and I'm like, I end up closing that entity because I'm like, I don't need it. I close it this year. I still have to file taxes for it. But I'm like, whenever I get a property in that state, I will go and maybe put it on the contract with an existing entity. And before I close, I just transfer it to that entity. Yeah. And that's the right. Panda said, yes. And that's what we did it right away. I would wait. Yep. Yeah, girl. I only create an LLC only when I need them. Yeah, it costs to maintain, and no. And again, you see, the good thing is that I wouldn't have known all of this if I didn't try. Like you just gotta do it, and in doing it, you learn, and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do this again. I've done that. Spend money, it doesn't work. But you know better because you've tried it. But if you don't try it, you won't know what works for you and what doesn't.
That's why, I think your story is so cool, and I'm gonna plug the Bigger Pockets interview again because it was great. Like hearing, especially someone who's coming somewhere that they're not from. You came from Jamaica, and this was completely new territory for you, and but then you heard, I think it was Henry Washington that was like, sometimes that works in your benefit because your back's against the wall of you can't do things traditionally. So you have to figure out a way to make it work. But that's the inspiring part, is that you knew you had a goal in mind, and you were just like, hey, I'm going all in. However I can figure it out, I'm going to figure it out. And I think the biggest thing too, for me, is just putting yourself in the right rooms and finding those people. Because I know I've learned so much in the last year just being around like-minded people that are doing things. And that's why I'm super grateful for our friendship, Keleisha, because it's amazing to see someone. It's just amazing to see someone doing the damn thing. What you're doing is essentially what I want to be doing. And so having you as that person that I can go to and work with and be like, hey, I've got this, let's do something with it.
Listen, it's literal. And persons always ask me, how do you know when to dive in? You're gonna know. You're gonna get that gut feeling where whatever is it that you're doing, whatever is it that you're going through, you're like, I'm sick and tired of this. You will know. You may think that, when am I gonna get this feeling? But sometimes you might wake up the next morning and you just get a feeling. You're like, I want to go all in on this. I want to do XYZ. And you take the leap of faith. And just by taking that leap of faith, you freak out when you actually decide that you're gonna be doing that. You're gonna freak out, because when I wanted to quit my job, I was scared. Because I'm like, I don't know how to tell him that I'm going to quit. What am I going to do after? Planning and planning and planning. And I prayed about it and prayed about it. And I was like, God, give me a sign. Just give me a sign. And one day it's like he was right over the person's head to be like, you wanted a sign? Here's your window. Quit. It's like the voice. And I'm like, I asked for this again, took a leap of faith, quit. I was like, I quit. After I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? What did I just do? And after a while, like I got so serious to be like, this is what I'm gonna do. I started giving 110%, because guess what? I didn't have a choice. I couldn't go back and ask for my job. And then because I gave 110%, I was giving and giving, the universe start putting things in your way. Opportunities start popping up. Things that you said that you always wanted to do. Oh, I'm going to do this. It's the doors start opening for you to do it. And you just start taking another step and another step that just starts getting you into rooms. And then you'll be surprised the small things that you do every single day or a couple of days of the week. When you look back in a year, you're like, damn, I did all of that in a year. I thought that would have taken me like 10 years.
Yeah.
But it comes down to a leap of faith. Side note, I've been thinking of getting a tattoo here that says faith, because faith is what has been like, I've been navigating through faith for the past year. And everything just comes down to just trusting and believing that it's going to work out. But within myself, I had to take that step and do what I wanted. So I would encourage you and anyone listening or watching is to just take that step. Like if it's something that you really want to do, just take the step and believe that you can do it.
I love it.
Wow. Guys, we should do a part 2, like in this, like everyone, like the same, I think persons are like still watching, like it's a solid number throughout the entire time. Guys, let us know what you think before you wrap up in the comment section. If you have any questions or anything at all, like drop them in the chat and let us know. Jackie, what's your final question?
Oh man, I got good.
Guys, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Let us know.
Man, I'm over here. It's getting dark outside.
Right, I'm looking at. I'm like, man, it's already at night. Like, how? It's just 6 o'clock. Well, not yeah, it's just 6 o'clock. It's insane. But no,
okay.
What you got?
Question for you. I guess so. With a lender, right? What do you think? Because there's so many different things that a lender can lend money on. What is typically your go-to of what you're finding for people? Is it something specific? Like, is it you mainly focus on rehabs, mainly entry fees, or does it really just depend on the person?
For me, it's just as long as it's some form of real estate. That way I know that the lender's money will be protected. I know there's a lot of persons raising capital for businesses and all that stuff, doing personal loans. But for me, because I don't know much about it, I don't dabble into it. And so I'm going to stick to the real estate, whether it's rehab, entry fee, whatever it is. I just want to know, how is the money protected? How is the lender going to get their money back? And how is it secured? That's it. Like, do you have an asset to put the lien on? That's all that matters. And how much money do you need? And what do you need the money for? That's really what it comes down to. Like, take out rehab, entry fee. It's really, what are you using the money for? That's it. What are you using money for? The asset that you're using the money for, how much is the property worth? Is there an underlying debt? What is that amount? And you literally like work that number backwards. But we get so caught up in the whole fancy exit strategy. And like, imagine that you just put someone wants 20,000 and you're like, they're purchasing for 100, they need 20,000. That means they're going to be all in 120, for example, without cost 120. The ARV is 350. Common sense will look at 350 minus 120. Ooh, that's a solid spread. So even if I take out closing costs and all that stuff, he still has a good chunk of money that I can pull my money out.
Mm.
But if the all-in is 120 without the cost and the ARV is 150, you're like, I can't invest in this because you're already at 120. You have 30. So imagine all the fees or anything goes wrong. Boop, wipe it out. That 150 gone.
Mm.
I'm learning it's basic math.
Mm-hmm.
And you just
Now,
keep it simple.
do you have, like, what is typically the longest term a money lender is usually lending on?
For my deal, and full disclosure, guys, I've been doing this since March officially. So the longest I've done is 12 months, but you have lenders out there that will do 24 months. I'm seeing that lenders who typically do 90 days, 2 months are now open and doing 6 months. Lenders who were only wanted 6 months are open to 12 months because then they're realizing that one, they don't want to be dealing with all the paperwork all the time, like different lenders and all that stuff. They rather know that this money's coming in. And those are the lenders that I like working with. I like the lenders who be like, I just want to invest and I want to benefit from the cash flow or the interest. And that can make it easier. But you can find lenders with that willing to do 24 months. And this is where a lot of persons in your network, when you tap into that, they'll be willing to do 24 months. They're not doing anything. I know like savvy investors be like, I don't want to do those small deals. I'm doing a bunch of paperwork. I want to invest my money and you pay me interest as however long you want. So with types with deals like those, I may just go in and give them equity. They don't want to have nothing to do with the property. They want tax benefits. They want that cash flow. Boom, easy peasy. And we get it done.
Nice.
And we should do a part 2.
Let's do it. Let's go.
This was good. But guys, like, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, watching. And thank you, Jackie, for being here. What's the best way for persons to reach out to you?
Instagram. Instagram DMs are so much easier to navigate than Facebook. I don't know what it is. But it's Jack's More Fun everywhere. I'm on Instagram, TikTok. I feel like I'm forgetting one. I know I'm on Twitter. I'm on all of them.
All of them. And for those who are listening, it's at JAXMOREFUN. And of course, you can find me on all social media platform, Keleishacar, KELEISHACARTER. And just like Jackie, I prefer Instagram. Things just get lost on Facebook a lot, especially when messages goes into message requests. I was like, I can't keep up with all of it. So if you message me, I'm not ignoring you. High possibility I haven't even seen it. So
can we just touch on that really quick? Because that's like something I want to shout to the world is like, don't be afraid to double message someone because chances are they just didn't see it. And that's like, I feel like I've dropped so many things because I have so many things going on. And I'm like, dang, I just wish the person would just like double message me. Don't be afraid.
Text message, I tell people that all the time. Like when I give them my number, I'm like, if you text me and I don't respond in 24 hours, please text me again. So it appears to the top. And they're like, okay, but I'm going to be annoying you. It's like, yeah, if you don't do that, most time I'm going to miss your text. So I was like, just keep annoying me. Just text me until I respond. Like if you want something, like it won't be annoying. Like just text me.
The fortune is in the follow-up.
Girl, what you talking about? What you talking about? But if you guys haven't even subscribed to our channel yet, make sure that you subscribe. Kels and Betzy, we go live on Money Mondays every Monday at 5 p.m. EST. Let us know if you guys have suggestions as well, what you would like us to talk about, what questions you have, what guests you would like us to bring on. Thank you guys so much for always tuning in, being so active. Shout out to Julie. Oh, we'll be having Julie on the show, I think, in the next 2 weeks or so. We'll be having Julie, who is also a lender, who's going to be sharing her story as a private money lender. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's always good to have a private money lender on the show. And again, thank you, Jackie, for being here. This has been fantastic. Thank you for our listeners. And until next time, see you guys.